The power of quiet ambition. In a quiet, sunlit town, surrounded by rolling hills, lived a bright young boy named David. David possessed a sharp mind, an eager heart, and boundless energy. He carried immense aspirations. He wanted to stand at the very top of his class, master complex arts, and build an exceptional future that would make his family proud. Yet beneath his obvious intelligence, David carried a subtle habit that slowly unraveled his potential. He simply could not keep anything to himself. Whenever a fresh idea sparked in his mind, or he discovered a new subject, he felt an overwhelming urge to broadcast it. He announced his study schedules, detailed every personal project before starting, and shared his loftiest ambitions with anyone willing to listen. At school, David was known for his grand declarations. He would gather his classmates around the courtyard bench during lunch breaks and outline his grand strategies. Starting this Monday, David would announce with theatrical flair, "I am going to study 3 hours every single morning before dawn. By midterms, I'll achieve the highest marks in advanced mathematics and science. Just wait and see." His friends showered him with immediate praise, nodding with admiration. His teachers smiled encouragingly, and his parents patted him on the back, delighted by his ambition. This warm bath of early approval gave David a pleasant rush of satisfaction. He genuinely believed that announcing his goals to the world created accountability and stoked his inner motivation. However, an invisible pattern began to emerge. Once the excitement of announcing a goal faded, the actual discipline required to achieve it felt strangely dull. When the alarm rang at dawn, David felt as though he had already achieved half the glory simply by speaking of it. The energy had leaked out of him through his words. When the semester exams concluded, the final results were posted on the town academy's notice board. David eagerly pushed his way through the crowd, only to find his name resting firmly in the middle of the roster. His grades were thoroughly average. Whispers soon rippled through the hallways. "Look at that," a classmate chuckled under his breath. "The boy who talks like a genius scores just like the rest of us." Embarrassment stung David sharply. Over the following months, the pattern repeated. He announced he would master classical violin, yet barely practiced a week. He declared he would write a prize-winning essay, but abandoned the draft after the opening paragraph. Slowly, a heavy cloud of self-doubt settled over him. Not only were results failing to arrive, but he also noticed that the moment he talked about a dream, he lost genuine interest in pursuing it. Feeling defeated and anxious, David packed a small bag one weekend and traveled to the countryside to visit his grandfather, Arthur. Arthur lived in a stone cottage surrounded by thriving orchards, blooming gardens, and tall oak trees. He was a man of few words, known throughout the valley for his calm demeanor, steady hands, and profound practical wisdom. On Saturday afternoon, as the two sat on the wooden porch, sipping warm tea, Arthur noticed his grandson staring blankly at the garden path, his shoulders hunched. "What's troubling you, David?" Arthur asked gently. "Your spirit seems heavy today." David looked up, his eyes welling with frustration. "Grandfather, I don't understand what's wrong with me. I have such big dreams, and I tell everyone around me so that I stay motivated, but I never seem to achieve any of them. Worse, right after I tell people what I'm going to do, I lose all my drive to actually do the work. Why does this keep happening?" Arthur set down his teacup, leaned back in his chair, and looked into David's troubled eyes. "David, it is precisely because you share your dreams with everyone that you lose your drive." David furrowed his brow, startled. "How can sharing a good dream hurt my progress?" Arthur smiled softly, gazing toward the verdant valley below. "Let me tell you the story of a farmer named Thomas," Arthur began. "Many decades ago, in a drought-prone village down south, lived a poor farmer named Thomas. Thomas owned nothing more than an arid patch of rocky soil, a single spade, and a pair of worn boots. Yet, deep within his heart, Thomas nurtured an ambitious vision. He dreamed of cultivating vast, fertile fields of grain and fruit, and building a secure life for generations to come. Thomas was exceptionally hardworking, but he observed one unbreakable rule. He never shared his plans with a single soul. While other villagers sat at the tavern in the evenings, boasting of what they intended to buy, plant, or build, Thomas quietly saved every penny he earned. Before sunrise, while the village still slept, Thomas was already digging irrigation trenches. When dusk fell, he was tending his nursery saplings. Curious neighbors would often lean over his wooden fence and ask, "Thomas, why do you labor from dawn till dark without a break? What are you preparing for?" Thomas never unveiled his grand blueprints. He simply smiled, bowed his head respectfully, and replied, "You will understand in good time." Years drifted by, season after season. Thomas took his hard-earned savings and purchased one modest adjoining plot of neglected land, then another. He enriched the soil, laid stone canals, and nurtured hardy crops. One year, a sprawling, well-organized farm stood where once there was barren dirt. The following year, a beautiful, sturdy home stood at the center of the estate. The entire village was stunned. They could hardly fathom how a penniless laborer had transformed an entire valley without making a single grand proclamation. One evening, an old friend walked through Thomas's flourishing groves, marveling at the heavy boughs of fruit. He asked, "Thomas, you started with nothing? Why did you never speak of your plans to anyone while you were building all this?" Thomas looked across his golden fields and replied, "When you talk too much, two destructive things happen. First, you invite doubt, jealousy, and discouragement from others before your idea has roots. Second, and most importantly, you squander your vital energy in speech instead of labor. Silence protects your goals. Words are like arrows once released from the bow. You cannot call them back. I chose to let my harvest do the speaking for me." David sat completely still on the porch, Arthur's words reverberating deeply within him. "You see, David," his grandfather continued, "speaking about a goal gives your brain the cheap illusion of accomplishment before the hard work is even begun. You collect premature applause, deplete your internal focus, and invite the world's opinions to weigh down your spirit. Keep your ambition close to your chest. Protect it like a tender flame in the wind. Channel every ounce of your energy into silent, persistent effort." A profound realization washed over David. The next morning, he returned home with a changed perspective. He didn't announce any new resolutions. He did not tell his classmates about study schedules, nor did he boast about upcoming projects. Instead, he closed his bedroom door, opened his textbooks, and poured his energy into understanding his lessons. When doubts arose, he kept his focus on the task in front of him. When friends asked about his plans, he gave a polite smile and returned to his work. Months later, at the end of year assembly, the headmaster walked to the podium holding the honors roll. When the name for the highest academic distinction of the year was announced, it was David's name that echoed through the auditorium. The hall erupted in applause. David stood up calm and composed, realizing that he had not uttered a single boastful word to earn that moment. His results had spoken clearly for him. The moral of the story: true accomplishment is built on disciplined action, not loud promises. Silence protects your ambition, while consistent effort produces undeniable results. Quote for this story: "Well done is better than well said." Benjamin Franklin. The lesson from the story: announcing your goals prematurely drains your internal drive, gives a false sense of achievement through cheap praise, and exposes your plans to outside skepticism. Channeling your focus into private, dedicated work ensures that your energy is spent on execution rather than talk. Conclusion: words are easy to produce, but only deliberate action creates lasting value. When you master the discipline of quiet perseverance, you eliminate unnecessary noise and allow the quality of your finished work to speak for itself.